Hey, this is Mike from 10th Avenue North, and you're listening to Dispatch Radio.
Well, folks, as you know, we're kind of leading into Winter Jam. We've been promoting with some of the artists. We love this time of the year. 10 bands for $10 is a great way to get everybody out, the family out, the youth group, that kind of thing. We know some of the bands that are coming, Skillet, Jeremy Camp, Francesca Battistelli, but we get to talk to one of the favorites of this show. And you know him as the bumper music at the bottom of the hour, Building 429's Jason Roy. How are you, Jason?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for taking a few seconds with me today.
Hey, even people that don't know you if they listen to our show. You've been the bumper music at the bottom of my hour for ever since We Won't Be Shaken broke. I was just in love with the song from that very moment. And it was funny because it happened while my kids were on a youth getaway. They come back, and I guess they listened to most of the album kind of on rewind. It just kept playing over and over again. Dad, have you heard Bonfire? Have you heard Wrecking? I said, yes, I have. Have you heard Won't Be Shaken? He said, yes, it's so great. I said, I'm already using it on my radio show.
Man, what I love about that is that it's multi-generational, and that's one of the things we try so hard to do, and you don't always hit that mark, but man, it makes me so happy to hear that Dad and kids are listening to the same music, and that's what we really try to do with Building, man. We want to make music that obviously gets the heart of kids, but also gets the heart of the adults as well, you know. So that's the way we try to do it, I think.
Well, I think you've done it again. I want to talk about the new single "Blameless" because I think it's one of my wife. That's hers off your album that she has just really had a bond to, and now that it's actually got a release as a single, she couldn't be happier. She's pitched that as well. So you've kind of won the whole family over. We're just gonna have you over for dinner anytime you're in town. Just you're part of the family already. So
that's so awesome.
Let's talk about Winter Jam. Just an amazing experience, and give everybody a little insight. Just because I was so different to play for 20,000 screaming fans, and then having all the different music styles and that kind of thing. Describe in your words what the night's like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would have to say it's the most electric venue that I've ever been in. Other than maybe like you walk into a Kentucky basketball game or a Duke basketball, you know what I'm saying? Like those arenas are just rocking, man. And that's what it's like. I mean, there's nothing but energy from the time the show starts to the time the show ends, and a lot of people, can fall prey to that, and just totally be like overwhelmed, and it can be overwhelming. I'm not lying. As a person on stage, I've done it before where I only played 15 minutes. After I had done the 15 minutes, I thought I ran a marathon. You know what I mean? Because it's so much energy out there. But,
right.
But our goal when we play those big 15, 20,000 arenas is that we somehow make that feel intimate and make it feel like people are right there on the stage with us, And so really we have a mantra in Building 429, and that is play to the people in the top seats. And that's our goal, man. We want the people that are in the very back seats up dancing, having fun, and up and worshiping the Lord, and we feel like we actually quite literally every night we walk off stage and look at each other, and if the people in the back seats weren't with us, we're like, oh, we got to do better than that. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
So that's just the way that we kind of approach it.
From For King and Country to Skillet, folks, you don't want to miss Winter Jam. Jamtour.com is where you get your tickets. If you're listening to us locally here, January 10th is when they will be in the Tampa Bay area. If you're catching us on the internet, there's a site in your town. There's well over 40 venues, 40 locations. You got to get tickets. There's going to be a band that you're going to love to death, and Building 429 is on that list for me. And I tell you what, as New Song puts this together every year, how do they approach putting the story together? What do they do, and how do they talk to you? Because you've been on the tour before, you kind of know how this is going to work. It's just an amazing spectacle that they put together. How do they sit down with you and say, Jason, this is where we want your piece of the story to be?
Yeah, well, it's actually a lot like that. I mean, we have the story that we want to bring to the table, and then they come in and they say, well, hey, let's not do this, let's do that. They have an entire Winter Jam wing of New Song that kind of helps put the whole show together. And from our side, I mean, I was telling somebody earlier, we've been working on this tour. Like we knew that we'd signed a contract in the summer months, so we've been working on it since then. And what's funny about that is you think in 21 minutes or 20 minutes, like how could you work on a 20-minute set that long? Well, you can work every second of that set out, and that's exactly what we do. We feel like we need to bring an intense focus to that time, so that when we walk on the stage, we're not worried about any details, and we're just there to kind of lead people in worship. You know what I mean? And so that conversation with New Song begins began eight months ago. So literally the second that Winter Jam is over, I think the Winter Jam office is closed for a week, and then they're back open and talking to artists for the next year. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's definitely like that, folks. You've heard Billy and Russ talk about that here on our show. I talk about the infrastructure, the hundred of people that are moving the stages around, and just the whirlwind that happens for 3 months. It's just an amazing thing. And Jason, you're coming off your own tour that you were on the road with Family Force 5 and Hawk Nelson. How do you take away from that and that you bring to something like Winter Jam?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm excited that catering is not my responsibility anymore. I'm excited that I don't have to worry about the production and all that kind of stuff. It really, Winter Jam can be, for an artist, it can be a season of rest and relaxation and rejuvenation. And I really, that's what I view it as, because, building has now become, an act that's a headlining act. That's what we do. We go out and we do tours, and it's continuing to grow on a year-to-year basis, which means that you get the blessing of putting your own tours together, and that can be massively overwhelming as well. So I think for me, I walk into this tour going, man, thank you, Lord, for giving me a season to go out on a big old massive arena tour and be able to rest while I'm doing it.
Speak to Jam Church. It is a great thing that helps the artists still stay connected to the Lord on Sunday mornings. They get to spend time together. They get to worship and fellowship together. Speak on your experience with that, and then, if you would, talk about what is the song on your list, and when you got to lead, what would you want to start off with?
Yeah, well, Jam Church, they pick a different artist every single Sunday to kind of lead worship, and then you have all the different. You have the tour pastor, and then you also have Tony Nolan, who will be the speaking pastor of the tour, and there's they're doing Bible studies and sermons and stuff on Sunday mornings. And I got to be honest, man, it's some of the most authentic worship I've ever seen. And it's hard for the artists. I mean, I think that for most artists, when they walk into a church, they're not anonymous. You know what I'm saying? When John Cooper from Skillet walks into a church, he's not anonymous. He's John Cooper from Skillet. So, but what's cool about Jam Church is that when we walk into Jam Church, we are anonymous. There's no one in the room that anybody's paying attention to, because we all live the same life, and nobody's impressed by anybody. And that's a kind of sacred ground. It really is. Sometimes my wife, it really frustrates me because she's unimpressible. She's not impressed by what I do. Yet, it's a good thing that she's not impressed by what I do. You know what I mean? It keeps me humble. It keeps me honest. It keeps me real. And I think that that's one of the things I love the most about Jam Church, man, is that there's no one in there trying to impress anybody. Everybody's there just to worship the Lord and just pray that the Lord would come and move. And it starts there for Winter Jam. I mean, quite literally, that's where it starts, at Jam Church. And then it just overflows into the show. The Sunday shows are generally, those things are lights out, man. And what's cool, too, is that every single day, the entire tour, there's a pastor there to pray with you over anything, anytime you want. So, and we take full advantage of it. So it's a really cool thing, man.
When you get to lead worship, what's the song that you can't get away from? You got to play.
You know what, man? I have so many that come to the top of my head. To be honest with you, this is one of the simplest songs ever, but at the same time, I can't get away from it, and it's White Flag, because I feel like my life, my goals, all the things that I've ever wanted in this life, should be secondary. And I'm a very driven person, and unless I can remember that God is completely in control and I need to surrender everything to Him, then my life's going to be a wreck and a mess. And I think that's a reality of being the highly driven person I am. If you talk to Joel and Luke from King and Country, those guys are highly driven. You talk to all the guys from Family Force 5, and highly driven. And Jeremy Camp, there's no exception to that rule. And so I think that for me, White Flag or even I Surrender All would be the two things that jump to the top of my head.
Great choices indeed. Definitely understand the message that you're saying behind that too. That's definitely one of the most powerful things that sometimes people don't get about you. When you're high energy, you're doing a lot of different projects, you're doing a lot of things, and yet the same day, that's your connection to the Lord, is I give it all to you. I'm nothing without you. And I'm not sure people get that, do they?
No, I think that it's one of those things that I think failure and brokenness really makes us brings us to humility and reminds us that He's completely in control. It's kind of the whole Jacob wrestling with the Lord. I mean, the guy walked with a limp for the rest of his life, but he was close to the Lord from then on, and people knew they could trust Him as a leader after that. And man, I walk with a limp. I've made many mistakes. I've fallen short of the call and just made a disaster of my life. But through that, God has consistently reminded me that if I surrender to Him, and His ways are better than mine. And I would have thought when I started building 429 15 years ago that we'd be going out and playing an arena tour. Not me. So it's pretty cool, man.
I'm happy that you're still trying, though. I appreciate that. Keep up the good work.
Yeah. We'll see how much.
I'm looking forward to
it. Do it into my grandfather years,
right? Let me ask a question that when I interviewed Michael last time he came up. This is last year, and you guys were out on the West Coast tour, and he had revealed how Jesse was relatively obsessed with the film Inception and was kind of driving you guys a little bit on the crazy side. That it kind of played pretty regularly, needless to say. What is life with building 429 on the road? What do they do, and how do they kind of keep their sanity, and how do they get along with each other, and what are some of the cool stories that are there?
Yeah, well, let me tell you, first and foremost, we're brothers. I mean, to the core. I mean, and I know that it's like Christianity, like we're called to be like meek and mild, and to turn the other cheek, but just to make sure that everybody understands, if you pick on Jesse, you got to deal with the other three of us. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how tight we are. We're unbelievably tight. And that's because we've been together for so long and we've been through so much. So it is truly a family brotherhood type thing. And I think that, we one of the interesting things is I think a lot of people kind of look at us and go, now tell us about your fights. Well, we don't have a lot of fights. Really, we don't. I mean, we live in different cities, in different states, which really helps us a lot, which means when we go home, we don't see each other at all. So when we get back on the bus, we're usually excited to see each other and talk about what happened with the kids, what happened with our wives, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that Jesse is his own. He's kind of his own little enigma. You don't even know what's coming out of that guy. He's such an artist. Like he's fully art. That's what he is. And Aaron is fully outdoorsman, hunter guy. If the end of the world came, I'd be moving to live on his property in Kentucky. And Michael, he's a fisherman, and he's actually, believe it or not, Michael is unbelievably introverted. Like you could not understand how introverted he is. So when he goes out and signs autographs and stuff, every word he can speak, he speaks, and then after that, he's done. He doesn't say a word to anybody when he gets in his bunk because he can't talk anymore. But years of being around him, it took me from thinking, man, that guy's a jerk after we sign an autograph to realizing the guy's just tired. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that's so cool about where we are today, man. We give each other extraordinary grace because extraordinary grace has been given to us. And I think that's what makes building so strong.
Obviously, it never stops. I know how God works, and you're an artist, you're a creator. He's connected to you through your music, and that's your way of communicating to others. And how does Jason continue to write? Are you a notebook guy, a laptop guy, and how is this process continuing right now?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely an ADD guy. I'm say it up front. Now, my iPhone though, should my iPhone crash, I might lose. I'd probably lose 100 song ideas. I have a baby grand piano that sits in my studio at the house, and I have pencil and paper sitting on top of it, and most ideas start there. And then they transfer to my phone, and then from there I'll take them to a writing session and sit down there. Honestly, I don't write when I'm not preparing to write for a record. So there are seasons where I turn it off, and the reason I turn it off is because I am a person who chases success. I have a tendency to chase it down in a negative way, and as long as I'm writing, if I write every single day, I find myself getting more and more frustrated by not writing the whole song. And I find myself getting more and more concerned that I won't be able to write a song that meets people where they are. And so there came a season in my life where I just realized that I was consumed by writing a song. And I was so consumed that I couldn't write it anymore. And so it came to the point where I said, God, you know what? If you're God and you're the author of me and you're the author of creativity, then surely you can give me the right song at the right time. So I turned it off for 6 months. And then sure enough, when it came time to write the record, which was the Listen to the Sound record, songs just flew out of me. And it's because I just came to a place where I said, God, I trust you.
Yeah.
I got you. I trust you. You're going to give me what I need when I need it. And that has never failed me since. So I wrote the Listen to the Sound record that way. I wrote the We Won't Be Shaken record that way. And I'm writing the current record the same way. Turned it off for about 6, 8, 9 months, and then God, I need some songs. Give me the ideas. And He has been so faithful to supply my every need as I'm writing songs for this new record. It's going to be awesome.
Jason from Building 429, Winter Jam 2015 is right around the corner, folks. If you're in the Tampa Bay area, make sure you get your tickets. That's January 10th. Jacksonville's the day before. The tour's well over 40 stops all over the eastern side of the United States, 10 bands for $10. There's a VIP ticket there that gets you the $30, $35 to get you in early, that kind of thing. Definitely got to check that out at Jam Tour. We'll have links to all that kind of stuff. And it's been great chatting with Jason. Jason, you got any cool holiday time? You got anything lined up for Christmas? You get a last tradition in there for you and your family?
We definitely, number one, if we start the holidays with the Christmas tree, you got to go pick the perfect tree, and every time we pick it, it ends up being somehow crooked, but it looked perfect when we picked it, Well, we decorate a tree, get a fire going. My holiday tradition really is, I keep a fire going around the clock. It keeps me busy, and I love it. My son helps me keep it going, and then we got that piano, and we all sit around the piano and sing Christmas carols together. It's just one of those special times where we all just get to laugh and turn off technology for a little bit and just kind of get back down to pull out some board games and, turn off technology. That's the thing that I think that we as a family are trying hard to kind of create a tradition of turning off technology for a while and just resting as a family. And we pull out Monopoly, we pull out Clue, we pull out all those old fun games that we played when we were kids, and just try to have a down-home Christmas. That's kind of
great.
Our tradition.
Are you good at Clue?
You know what? I am. My wife is unbelievable at it, though.
Oh.
She kind of frustrates me. The last time we played Clue, she picked it. I guess it was an educated guess. I don't know. There weren't any clues on the board.
I'm a Clue connoisseur, so I'm gonna have to come over and get in with the Masters, man. We're gonna have to schedule that.
My game was Risk. When I was a kid.
Oh, I loved Risk. No one will play Risk with me now, so we'll have to definitely get together and do that. 'Cause that's great.
We need to have a Risk game. It needs to happen. We need to have a challenge. That would be a great thing. Just a board game family night, a challenge to all listeners. Turn off your cell phones. Don't look at the iPad. Don't look at the TV, and have a board game night once a month. Now that right there would be awesome.
We change the world with that. Just less technology, bring people together.
I know, man.
Absolutely. Right. Jason, again, God bless you. Thank you for fitting this into your schedule. I look forward to maybe getting a chance to meet you face to face while I'm there at the show. And I just be praying for you and the band and the show.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you there. Okay, man.